Me. I'm still adjusting to the whole first pick, side pick shenanigans. Yeah, there's, I know you really like data, Kman, but the amount of games that are going to have to be played before we start to figure out what is the optimal strategy for what kind of comps and what kind of teams, we are so far off from that, even globally.
Yeah, I mean, it's already looking quite crazy, but we'll see what OMG has up their sleeve here today. VODS actually left through. Not very often that happens in game number 1, so it's going to be an easy pickup for Starry. He hasn't actually gotten the chance to play it so far this year, but it's certainly been something he's had success on in the past when he's found, you know, some nice angles for OMG. It does kind of create this more even game state for the team because they can kind of leave him alone or play for him. Definitely one of the most versatile picks, but with LNG available to kind of go in any direction, Azir makes the most sense for BuLLDog. I think an aggressive jungler lock-in here can also make some sense if we wanted to see something like a Xin Zhao.
Yeah, I mean, you can immediately, nice call out, do exactly what we were hoping for and get yourself some mid lane wave clear wave presence, and then also have Croco who can make the most use of that now on the Xin Zhao. However, it does leave OMG in a little bit of a pickle, right? We wanted mid-wave pressure from them. They end up answering back with the Taliyah Wukong.
Taliyah's looked good so far this year, especially for OMG. Haichao is more than fine at being able to open up the map and not be kind of the central carry, but this is a big game for Juhan. We hyped him up in the pre-show. This Wukong needs to be a primary engage threat as we're looking at the way these two comps are built. With the Sion locked in, I mean, you're staring down Sion Azir in a late game here. If you've got that front to back going, it's actually going to be pretty consistent for them to just play out their way into the end of the game. Juhan has to be aggressive and kind of has to be a main facilitator in this matchup.
Yeah, crazy scaling already out of LNG when we think about the potential that they'll have later with Sion's frontline being so effective, and of course Azir's damage. However, looking at the bans, with no top laner locked in for OMG, taking Gwen away from Hery. A little bit odd, to be honest. I imagine that Hery chooses to go something that is a little bit more bruiserish, but with Rumble already taken out, now with Gwen eliminated, things like the Rek'Sai, the Zehen still available, it'll be difficult to take out everything from Hery because I don't think that he's the pivot point for OMG.
Yeah, he's been very weird this split because there have been some really good moments in lane, but a lot of weird moments out of lane, and I think that's what you really want to try and capitalize on. You want to make sure that Sheer has as easy of a time as possible getting to that Sion power spike, despite the fact that Hery has actually been pretty good at punishing tanks so far. That's why you take away the Gwen, and it's why you take away the Mbessa. There are some pretty crucial picks that are left up if they want to go in that direction. I'm thinking mostly something like a Renekton that usually doesn't get through a lot of these ban phases if you're targeting top lane, but it's kind of remains to be seen whether or not Hery wants to go in that direction. As for now, taking away a lot of the more popular AD carries, the Misfortune, the Yunara, that have really risen in priority, makes sense to kind of force the hand here of 1xN.
Yeah, I think especially taking out the Misfortune I really like in terms of lane presence against a Varus. OMG have basically decided preemptively that they are going to have a winning bot lane, and fingers crossed that leaves them with access to Dragon, but the Corki is not a bad response.
Yeah, Corki and Nami, to me, seems like a lock-in here that LNG might be pivoting for towards the end of this draft. We'll see the direction that they want to go in. It's how you want to pair up with the Varus. You kind of need an engaged support here because you are looking at a little bit more of an aggressive top side, I imagine, into the Sion. Rel would make sense, Alistar would make sense. It really comes down to preference. Moham, obviously somebody who in the past has gotten Rel one-trick merchant allegations back in his time on D+ Kia, and he will be locking in that champion that he is oh so known for here this week. Little top lane hover. Zehen has really looked good in pro play. Certainly would not surprise me as an aggressive answer to that Sion.
Yeah, I think that Zehen is a pretty slam dunk pick here. It does really emphasize the mid game strength that OMG can have compositionally, which could go very well for them, again, especially around to neutral objectives in the lower half of the map. And then, you know, if Zehen gets ahead, all of a sudden it opens up Grubs, Rift Herald pretty darn easily. I know we were thinking about the Nami. It looks like LNG wants a little bit more beef.
Yeah, it would surprise me a bit to see them go in the direction of a tank here. I think the Sion Xin Zhao kind of indicates to me that they wanted to contest the 2v2 with the Corki down on the bot side, but they want to go for something like Poppy. We've seen a lot of teams have success. This is a big Poppy game. Almost every game is a great Poppy game in the current meta, but with this locked in, you certainly are pivoting away more from the 2v2 aggression and playing more into that Azir Corki duo carry win condition as the game continues to go along. For OMG, you're definitely looking to pressure out a lot of the mid game. Wukong Taliyah is going to need to be proactive, and we put the onus on Juhan, but it's definitely the mid jungle duo for OMG that you got to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and I think that they have some good tools to do it, especially with Haichao having the ability to roam on the Taliyah. This is going to be really relative to what Croco is able to do. Are Haichao and Juhan going to be able to work together to mitigate Croco's aggression, or is even Wukong Taliyah too little too late? LNG have looked unstoppable so far, and Croco is such a big part of that.
Yeah, I mean, his early games have really been tremendous. He's on a champion that he's super familiar and comfortable with in the Xin Zhao, and if he's able to generate an early lead, fight a lot more, and get gold in priority spots on that Azir or on that Corki through the 2v2, things can get pretty out of control pretty fast for this LNG comp. So OMG have drafted a situation where they really need to be on their A game, and they probably already knew that coming in, but this is going to be a big challenge for them.
And because it is the first game of a Fearless series, this is their best shot at having all of their favorites, all the things that LNG think will go well, they've gotten to grab. They picked up Varus first for priority in the bot lane. They still got the Wukong that has worked so well for Juhan, or been such a favorite of Juhan, the Taliyah for a little bit of push. This is OMG's best shot, and if they're going to take a shot at the top, you know, Kman, that they better not miss.
Hearing a little bit of gyos.
A little.
Not too many, but at least a few, which is exciting. It's always nice to see that even down here in Group Nirvana, there's some passion from the fan bases, but you're absolutely right. You can't miss with this draft. Did a little bit of a quick search so far in terms of Juhan's Wukong stats so far in 2026. He has a 0% win rate and a 0.4 KDA. So he's played this champion a lot. He's had a lot of success on it before this year, but has yet to find a good angle to play it in the in split number 1 here. So definitely going to need to be a much better game from him than what we've seen recently.
Yeah, it's tough when we're looking at stats like that, because we did mention that LNG, as an example, have some pretty nice stats themselves, but it's because they win so many games that, like, how are you not going to? I think it's a similar thing for OMG. Yes, their stats have been pretty rough, especially as we illustrated Juhan's, but they just haven't won that many games.
Definitely a tough situation to be in as we get some early trades. Moham going to drop down. Not really a lot to punish here. There are some lane matchups that the Rel can be a little bit scared in, but this is not one of them. Level 2s being hit. Trade's coming down.
This is a lot of early priority for LNG. I'm still expecting Varus to be able to largely win the lane, but the first couple levels, perhaps a little bit tough, and Moham and Starry are just going to be sitting back and waiting for a little bit of pressure as Juhan's coming down bot side and is a little bit faster on the clear than Croco.
Yeah, definitely something to monitor. I don't expect some aggression from Juhan on the bot side early, but we've seen crazier level 4 ganks so far this split. If he did want to potentially go for something, as for now, Croco just wants to make sure that he's keeping up with Juhan in terms of that pace. You definitely don't want to let Wukong hit level 6 too early, because that can be pretty dangerous, especially with something like a Taliyah being able to wall off the other side. So tempo is going to be really important in the jungle matchup, as will pushing lanes, both mid and bot.
And for right now, there's actually a nice bit of push in the mid lane for Haichao, as he knows that he's got Juhan right next to him. Hery up on the top side against Sheer. Pretty nothing burger for right now. Not a whole lot going to happen in this matchup for the next few minutes, but when we start looking at objectives, that's where Zahen, especially around Grubs and Rift Herald, you would hope by that time, is going to be pivotal. I am surprised, however, as we look back down bot side, that OMG are still playing so far back.
Yeah, this is the power a bit of Corki at the moment. Moham takes one bad trade, as we saw there. Things can get bad fast, but skirmish in the jungle?
Haichao did have mid lane priority and was able to walk out first, but even still, OMG are not able to effectively contest the Scuttle Crab. Juhan had Smite for that, but instead is just going to opt for the top side, and I guess the call is that it's not worth it to 50-50.
Definitely agree with the call, if that is the one being made. Really no reason to flip the game there, especially when Croco can really take things out of control quickly with that Xin Zhao, even with the Taliyah priority, but definitely going to be a bit of a slower early game, I think, until level 6. We definitely see both of these teams not necessarily overextending early in these moments. It's going to really matter which one of them can get that lane priority, as I talked about, and I think that Cyclone from Wukong is going to be the thing to watch out for at level 6. If he can hit it early, that's going to be really important for his ability to kind of get to his timers and his power spikes, but for now it's just going to be Croco walking around on some wards.
Speaking of wards, we do have both of our supports, Missing and Moham, already heading out and just making sure that the river is lit up for their junglers, respectively. It is mostly about safety early game, as both Juhan and Croco, who has backed already, Croco picking up a longsword in the early game for a little bit of extra power, is finally going to be matched by Juhan now as he hits his first recall. We got about 20 seconds till the dragon spawn.
Yeah, dragon spawning in about 15. We'll see if either team wants to prioritize it too heavily. I think LNG in particular would benefit immensely from getting fights forced around some objectives in the mid game, and obviously dragons are incredibly strong at the current moment. If any team is going to be prioritizing it, I imagine it will be LNG. Question is, how much does OMG want to put into trying to stop that? We're seeing a small lead generate for 1xN on the bottom side, as we noted earlier. Starry's just not had that lane pressure. I think a lot of that is coming from the Rel, unfortunately, just not being able to contest as much. Corki's lane power is a lot right now. It's a pretty big part of his kit, and the freeze is, as you pointed out, just devastatingly bad for the Varus. The play wants to be made here. Croco is in the area, but looks like it's just going to be a recall, and we'll have to wait a little bit longer for Dragon.
Yeah, I mean, it might be small and understated, but what is happening in the bot side right now is brutal when you think about OMG's win conditions. The fact that they first picked this Varus and are getting frozen out of even hitting the wave.
It is some nice poke, at least, coming in from Starry. That's what he needs to do, continue to try to pressure this out. Missing's going to heal.
There's that Poppy wave presence.
Yes, the wave presence definitely kind of coming in here for the Poppy. She can really be a problem for the Rel this early on into the game. There's not a ton of ways for Moham to be aggressive. And both junglers in the area. We talked about Dragon being a priority specifically for LNG here. Juhan gonna death bush.
Moham goes for it. 1xN with a nice flash away, but as Croco arrives, it is 2v3. Like to see Missing get out, and he's going to invest the flash to do so. Starry flashes after him and picks up the first blood. Starry, it took that lane personally.
No CS, no problem for the OMG AD carry as he's able to pick up first blood. Really nice play for the team there to be able to get himself back on the board. That CS lead was getting very concerning when you're looking at the state of this game and trying to play around that Taliyah Wukong combo, but Starry able to pick that up. Juhan, we were asking him to make some plays, and that death bush very much coming in clutch. Just overall a nice start here for OMG.
Yeah, a super nice way, and great job by Moham as well to identify that this was a winning fight for them and start the engage off with Rel, even with how tough things had been going for the bot lane up until then. Haichao's going to get a little bit of assistance from the very same Moham as he clears out a few waves. 1xN is just going to die. He's gone.
Yeah, he's just dead. Starry picks up the solo kill on the bot side. 1xN overextending. What is going on, Dia? The LNG that I have known, the LNG that I've gotten so used to, they are throwing away some early leads here. OMG is coming out swinging, and Starry now has 2 kills. All of a sudden, the lane that we were looking at as negative is right back in it. This Varus is going to be a really, really big problem.
Yeah, he's not only even as he was after the first kill, now he's ahead, and being able to reset on that as well is going to bring even more power to the map. I will remind everyone that while the dragon is still up, Void Grubs are just about to spawn as well. It'll be really interesting to see where the respective bot sides and supports go as to what jungler prioritizes that objective up top. Oof,
yeah, definitely would imagine that this ends up being more of a split trade. LNG to me is a comp that really wants to start stacking these dragons and forcing fights in the mid game around those objectives. OMG, I think, benefits a little bit more from those grubs. Would not be surprised to see that trade happen, but for now, Croco still on the bot side, wants to shadow this bot lane, which has very quickly become a bit of a problem for LNG. 1xN definitely needs to continue to play aggressive. The more he plays passive in this lane, the worse his disadvantage is going to get. You definitely don't want to give Varus more than he's already got.
I'm going to emphasize this as well. It is such a clear priority for OMG, this dragon. The one skirmish that we had around bot side started because we had Juhan showing around the dragon. Croco got curious. Once again, Juhan is going to start this dragon up, but this time with a lot more priority from his bot side. Haichao has done such a good job of keeping midwave pushed out, and it turns into a free objective for OMG.
Yeah, I mean, this is what bot prio will generate you. that'll get you in a spot where you can start stacking those dragons early. Croco will be pretty happy with this trade. Grubs are just incredibly strong right now, and Grubs on a Scion and an Azir and a Corki that can, you know, relatively easily side lane if need be in the later parts of the game is definitely going to feel good. We're seeing a lot of blue in terms of the small gaps down on the bottom side, but that 500 gold lead for Starry is creating about a 300 gold lead for OMG in general. We've set ourselves up into a game state. It's going to be really interesting to monitor because both of these teams want to make sure that when they pull the trigger, they don't pull it too quick or too fast.
Yeah, with our respective objectives having gone down, it's going to be no surprise that Sheer just expends his teleport to move back up to the top side. It is just a battle of pushing waves back and forth in almost every lane but bot side, which is our only kill threat lane at the moment. Neither Croco nor Juhan have really visited mid lane, certainly not top side, and I'd expect a bot to be the continued focus.
Yeah, we're getting closer to those one-item power spikes. Starry is almost certainly going to have it on back here with the lead that he has generated for himself. Once you do start getting those one-item power spikes coming in, those fights become a lot more consistent. Objectives aren't quite coming up just yet, but certainly going to be something to monitor. Juhan has that Cyclone available. You've got that ultimate from the Xin Zhao as well, even the Shuriman Shuffle from BuLLDog if you do want to be aggressive and make a play. For LNG, I think you definitely want to make sure you don't let this game get out of control.
Question has to be, what is Croco going to be up to next? 3 minutes until the next objective. Going to be a Chemtech Dragon, but Croco really has his pick. He can just continue farming. And there don't seem to be a whole lot of lanes for him to get ahead, even in the bot side where OMG have showed the most presence. They haven't really done it by pushing their waves up, which leaves an early aggressive Xin Zhao kind of without much to do.
And that is the scary thing here. You don't have to worry too much because you are in a spot where BuLLDog and Sheer are both going neutral, and that is definitely a positive towards being able to fight in the mid game here as Hery could be in a bit of danger. Ooh, he's gonna have to ult out.
No problem, ult for ult. That's, I mean, it's not awesome, doesn't feel great, but Hery is going to be just fine on this Zehen. I think big question for me is how is he going to look in the mid game fights, because Zehen is a lot more difficult to execute than something like a Rumble or a Malphite that just has to put your ult in the right place. Zahen's positioning has to be really good, and Hery's flanks have to be really good.
That is a bit of a concern with the way he's played some of the team fights across his career up until this point, but he has shown a little bit more in 2026. He's got a big opportunity here. We've seen both good and bad Zehen games. As missing, kind of left on his own here.
Moham knows what he wants. I don't know if he'll be able to get it. Chains of Corruption are going to go wide, and missing with the Poppycopter ejects the largest source of damage in Starry and is able to walk this one out. It is an ult down, but honestly, not too concerning. I'm a little more concerned about the back timing for missing, as he's had to disjoint that from his AD carry.
It's definitely not ideal for 1xN, who continues to go lower and lower in terms of value in this lane. CS has caught up for Starry. They are even now at 119. That is a problem for 1xN, who's staring down 2 kills on the Varus. But I think, importantly, as you called out there, both Varus and Rel popping their ultimates, which they will not have available for the next couple of minutes. That is, at the very least, a decent priority kind of creator for LNG on the bottom side of the map, as it's going to be a lot more difficult for them to fight, even with Wukong in the area. But one thing we talked about these junglers wanting to fight, and yet we've still yet to see massive plays. First item spikes coming in, the Triforce and the Sundered Sky, respectively. We'll see if this is the timer that they want to use.
Decent back timing for Juhan and Haichao to have just hit. Haichao completes his first item. Juhan is going to do the same. Trinity Force spike on Juhan is just in time for the next dragon.
Yeah, it's really massive for Wukong to get to that point. He is much stronger after the Triforce completion, and he can survive a lot longer. And so when you go in for that Cyclone, you're definitely going to be expecting him to do a little more. He is down 20 CS. It's not a monumental loss. There have been certainly games that looked worse. The last time these two teams played, we saw something a little different, as we see more trading going down on the top side.
I mean, Hery's got this. He'll pop right back to life. So Sheer expending the ultimate to try and get away, isn't going to, but Hery doesn't pick up the kill either, using an ult of his own just to help shove under tower and keep Sheer all the lower. Could actually try and dive. That is going to go for it. Sheer likely dead here. Hery flashes after him. One more auto would have done it, but now is in a risky spot. Sheer's going to get out. Hery continues to chase this, tanking another turret shot, but Sheer could not escape forever, I suppose.
Yeah, it's a very aggressive dive from Hery. He knows he can get away with it because he's Zehen, but also, more importantly, Hery does not have teleport available, and Sheer does. So this posturing around Dragon, it's really important to make sure Sheer can't just, you know, turn this into a 5v4 and take away any opportunity for OMG to try and contest it. That bot lane priority is coming in clutch as they start up the Dragon.
Going for a small pick onto Missing. It would be big. Poppycopter ejects one, but it isn't Starry. Missing flashes away, still stays alive, while Croco engages Juhan on the other side. A lot of priority around the Dragon right now. Croco is coming back to a 1.8k Dragon. He's going to get that. Well, BuLLDog picks up the kill on Juhan. LNG got everything they could ever want.
It all continues to come up LNG. Whenever we doubt them, whenever we worry about the situation they're in, somehow, some way, they are going to figure out the fight. Unfortunately for Juhan, he goes in with the Cyclone, and he just doesn't find any priority targets quickly enough. There's no damage to follow through this early in the game. If Starry can't free hit on that engage, it's going to be a lot more difficult. We see how this play ends up starting. Remember, both top laners cannot join until Sheer ends up respawning. Starry spends a lot of resources trying to kill Missing, but he just flashes out and survives. The Q's not able to land, and again, Starry, who all the gold is on, is now in a terrible position to be able to fight this out. When Wukong goes in, there's no follow-through. Croco is able to burst down Juhan, and now all of a sudden, BuLLDog just has to dash over and be a little bit stylish. He burns the flash for it. It's definitely worth it. Croco's able to pick up the Dragon, and that lead that OMG had done such a good job generating, it's all gone.
100%. I mean, the way that LNG just played that last fight has completely separated OMG, and I think really shown us the focus that was lacking on OMG in their games leading up to this one. They've tried to do multiple things at the same time. Starry tried to take on Missing. Starry never got to touch Croco in that fight, and now with the dragon gone, with your lead negated, LNG are well back in their comfort zone.
They definitely are. You don't want to be neutral against this team or this team comp. Missing, gonna take a little bit of chip damage. Shouldn't be in too much danger here, but really the question now is how much aggression do you want to put on the map before these next objectives spawn? We still are about 3 minutes away from the next Dragon. Of course, a few minutes away from some major objectives spawning as well in the Baron, but it really is, what do you want to do with these resources you've now generated? Because BuLLDog was the one who picked up the kill. Do you want to play around this Azir and utilize Croco's ultimate aggressively, or do you perhaps want to scale out? That will be the big question.
First tower still a question as well. Croco picking up the Rift Herald previously can probably, I mean, he can crack bot side, can't really do much mid, and can do a decent bit of damage top side if left alone with the tower. Right now, heading up to top side, maybe looking for Haichao. Croco wants to pick a fight, but is going to get spotted by the control ward on the way.
Yeah, that's the tough thing about Xin Zhao here, is vision control is going to be difficult to deal with in the mid game. You want to make aggressive plays, but you got to do it in safer situations. Hery continues to do really well in this side lane into the Scion. He's up about 500 gold because of the kill he was able to generate for himself on the top side. He could be a massive problem in the late game. When you're looking at ways to deal with Zehen, the list is very short in terms of easy and obvious ways. But you definitely don't want to let him continue to gain that lead on the side. For now, just more dancing. The Rift Herald's definitely the priority.
Croco going to continue extending the farm lead as well in the jungle. Juhan spent a lot of time around the mid lane, something that Croco has not been doing at all. He's just constantly cycling his camps, and that's going to continue to make things a little bit difficult for Juhan, who is stuck between outputting his utility on the Wukong and keeping up with the opposing jungler. Hery is going to continue running this top side matchup that is flip-flopped over to the bot side, and with about a minute 30 left on Drake, it's time to start thinking about setups for both these teams.
Yeah, Drake is super important here for both sides. Of course, that second Drake, getting that scaling is huge, but it's Mountain Dragon in Mountain Soul in particular in this game, and that could be really big for both of these sides, so I imagine it's going to be a lot of pressure on that side of the map. Could just be an excuse for LNG to fight, but BuLLDog!
Haichao gets shuffled, and he gets shut down. That is a CC chain from hell that takes him out, and LNG now run the top side. Should be another couple plates going their way.
I guess ask and I shall receive from BuLLDog. I said in the pre-show that I wanted to see him really outclass Haichao. Well, there you go. Nice shuffle. Great follow-up from Missing, who has been great in this game so far on the Poppy. And it just feels like it's a lot of these micro plays that continue to put LNG ahead over a team like OMG that is just struggling to not make mistakes in the mid game.
Roaming down to the mid lane as well. Missing could go for another kill. Starry does extend the Chains of Corruption, but flashes just in time to be pushed back. Deals some nice damage back onto Croco as the Magnet Storm gets used by Moham. But OMG, trade ults. Croco low, but doesn't much matter.
Yeah, it's a nice look from LNG. Starry was pretty far forward. You are going to get the flash out of the Varus, which is decently important with Dragon spawning in 10 seconds, but overall, you're not going to mind that too much if you are OMG. Starry needs to be the focal point. This has kind of been the franchise player for this organization over the past couple of years. He's been here in the LPL and the LDL when they were relegated last year, and he's going to need to be a big piece after his early lead. That 600 gold that he has over 1xN is important, but if you can't buy him the space, it's not going to matter, and right now it's looking like Croco is doing a great job of finding that backline.
Yeah, again, we need laser focus out of OMG. Who are they focusing? And when are they doing it? Right now, Dragon seems like the perfect time to test that, although it is a scary LNG, made scarier by the fact that they have River Prio right now. Sheer gets engaged on, but Sheer Scion.
Yeah, he doesn't have to worry too much. Dragon is getting pulled, but he is the target. He's alone.
Gonna expend ult. It's not a great look for LNG. That does hurt their utility in this fight, but Croco lays down the Rift Herald, perhaps just on the point of expiring, but it will make mid lane that much more of a focus, pushing OMG back there and out of the river as LNG retake that. And we'd sure like to get some value out of this Rift Herald. OMG, it must be time to engage. Out comes the wall from Haichao. Doesn't quite cut off the Rift Herald, doesn't quite do much of anything except for put Haichao in the mid lane with the rest of them.
Yeah, it's a huge cooldown used, and LNG still have full control over this river.
Pull back in. Croco's playing inside these bushes.
Missing.
Wait for the engage. Moham goes in for a huge Magnet Storm, but Croco accesses the back line, and he is all over Starry, who gets deleted by the Xin Zhao. Meanwhile, LNG's team fight is going just fine. That Magnet Storm not causing them any problems at all. Croco is low. Croco gets flashed on by Hery, but trades his life in a 2-for-1, as Hery will get shut down as well, making it a 4-for-1 in the favor of LNG.
It looks good, Dia. It really does. At the start of that fight, they land the seismic shove onto Missing. The Magnet Storm comes down from Moham, and it feels like you found this big clump engage that you're looking for. But again, where is all the gold? It's on the flashless Varus that you burned flash on in the mid lane just a couple of minutes ago. Again, we're going to get a replay of Missing getting hit by the shove here and Moham going in. Moham already half health, but Croco does not care. He's immediately onto the carry, and this Varus is just dead. There's no way to deal with that here. Croco is too strong. Yes, he has to give his life, but it is 100% worth it. We see LNG winning on the bottom side. BuLLDog even picks up another kill here on the Azir just as an exchange, and you're able to clean up the fight incredibly easily. It's execution that once again puts LNG ahead.
And this is Croco killing your AD carry and getting 2 flashes and another 2 kills for his team in the meantime. Croco's value in that fight was absolutely wild, and had he been caught in the Magnet Storm with the rest of them, I think we're seeing a very different fight.
Absolutely, and Croco's value in this game in general was to make sure that these carries got online, and they've gotten online. It's a 1.5k gold lead for BuLLDog in the mid lane. 1xN has completely gotten back into this game after a really nice fight. And, you know, we talk about Croco's value in this game, but Croco's value to LNG, this split, has been monumental. And once again, we are seeing a big lead in the jungle really determine the direction that LNG and OMG are both going.
No back interrupt. Sad. Could have been a fun find, but Missing will continue to play with the confidence of a Poppy possessed and with a whole lot of backup in his favor as well. Juhan does have to pop out and show a little bit of presence in the jungle, but now everything is shown, because with the way that Missing has been playing and positioning, he is getting immense amounts of vision and value for his team.
And that's the scary part now, is you're looking at the map, and it's going to get a lot more blue as we continue to play along. And you're looking at OMG, and you're like, you have to face check into a Poppy and a Xin Zhao and a Scion, and that's how you have to contest objectives. It's going to get a little bit scary. BuLLDog playing a little bit on the edge of danger, but not managing to get hit by the seismic shove. OMG are definitely feeling the game slip away from them with that 3k gold deficit. They have to find a play soon.
I mean, crazy range on the Azir as well is really going to emphasize the Moham Juhan issue for OMG. It has got to be great focus out of these two players, as one unfortunately gets baited, missing, with a nice steadfast presence completely shuts down Juhan's engage, leaving Starry in now a 2v4 with everyone looking at him, and with Sheer running straight at him. Knockup is going to land. BuLLDog is right over the wall. Starry flashes to dodge the shuffle, but isn't able to do much to answer it back. It is a flashless Varus who gets nothing for it.
Yeah, fortunately, he likely saves Baron by not dying there, but unfortunately for him, I'm just kidding. They're going to start it up anyways. They're not going to worry about it too much. The Baron is on the table. This is going to be difficult. Juhan's still dead for 10 seconds.
Moham and Haichao can't do much on their own either. Hery could bring a lot of damage to the table, but Missing is playing defense for the moment. Starry's looking for him once again as the Baron goes lower and lower, and Croco ends up picking it up. No contest in the pit or anywhere. Now it's the fight for afterwards. Moham engages triple man Magnet Storm, but that is a triple man Magnet Storm into a whole lot of nothing. Hery goes in, gets shut down, and the engage from OMG is an attempt to salvage something that they never had a right to.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm watching OMG or Stormtroopers on the map, because they're running in one at a time and just dying over and over again. It's an unbelievably bad answer to the Baron there. They're always going to have to give that objective up with no jungler on the map. Trying to find a 4v5 engage at the end is just exacerbating the problem, and it continues to be an issue for OMG that they cannot salvage these bad positions. They're constantly against each other in terms of their decision-making, and LNG is really reaping the rewards of that. This has gone from an even game to a 6k gold lead in 5 minutes.
And it's a tough thing to fight as well, because with Juhan dying at the start of that, getting picked off by a nice bait out of Missing, you don't have any really effective frontline anymore. Yes, Moham can always engage, and Hery can do something, but we're talking about a bruiser and a support, and what you'd really like to do, what you have to do, I would say, is combine Juhan and Moham for the greatest effective value, and that's something that OMG have been denied the opportunity to do in the last couple of fights.
Definitely does not seem like they're on the same page. LNG going to reap the rewards of that by pushing down here on the bot side. This tier 2 is going to be the goal for them. Would be surprising if there is any resistance. OMG at least posturing, but that double push is coming, and it's coming fast with the Baron buff.
Chains of Corruption are up for Starry, and I'd almost like to see him start a fight. Does end up whiffing them onto Croco, however, as Croco goes in and punishes Starry for even thinking of trying to take him down. It is a 1-for-1, but that was a 1v5, and Croco showed no signs of balking.
Truly one of the most disrespectful engages that I've seen all split long from Croco. He says, I don't care, man. You caught me out mid lane 1v5. I'm going to kill you anyways. You don't have flash up. There's no way for you to dodge this. Truly insane stuff, and it just goes to show that aggressiveness that we were talking about as LNG now siege down the inhibitor turrets of OMG. Their Baron, not much time left on it, only about 30 seconds, but should be enough.
There goes the engage. Nice answer from BuLLDog to just push everyone on OMG back, and now with the range from Azir, we have the disjointed engage out of Moham, but Hery goes for it, actually locking some people down under the tower. Missing is going to fall as Hery gets popped into the res. Haichao wants to follow up on Sheer. Flashes for 1xN, who's now getting teleported on by Starry. No Chains of Corruption for this Varus. Can he take down 1xN? He cannot! 1xN blows him up, and LNG are right back in the driver's seat, even as they lose Sheer.
It's not good from LNG, certainly not clean, but once again, it's just LNG exerting their dominance on the Rift here. It's such an aggressive fight around that inhibitor turret on the bot side. It's well done from OMG to at least trade something back, but they will lose soul point for this on the Mountain Dragon, and they will not be able to collect nearly the gold that they are looking for. Let's see how this ended up starting here. It's just a really aggressive push with only 3 on the side. Juhan tries to find the Miracle Engage. Missing is way too slow on the counter engage here. BuLLDog does a good job to try and disengage everything going on with OMG, but again, there's just no damage coming down. Starry is not here. Hery is the only one who can even attempt to try and threaten the backline. Missing is just a little bit too far forward. At this point, they're like, wow, we have something. Sheer is super low. BuLLDog is super low. Let's TP in. Let's make the play happen. 1xN has to burn flash, but little do they know at this point that Starry cannot handle the power of the Corki, and we're right back.
Croco naturally picking another fight, this time on Juhan, who is not long for this world. LNG run the jungle. They run the game at this point. 8,000 gold in the lead. and a likely close coming their way. Baron's up in 2 minutes should they need it, and I have to imagine they'll make full use of the amenities.
This map is theirs. They own the resort at this point, as this thing does get flicked in.
That's the support, who has just gone to half health and is likely still to live. Stymies the engage out of Hery as well, who has to ult simply to survive. And LNG are going to pick up the tower in top lane as a result.
Yeah, this is LNG just kind of controlling everything. Missing is way too tanky to find an engage on at this point. The Poppy is certainly coming in clutch. I questioned whether or not it was the right choice in draft. As it turns out, yes, Missing can play Poppy just as much as he can play a lot of these enchanters, and things are not getting easier. BuLLDog completing his Banshee's Veil here. He will be even more difficult to try and pick off. You know, Haichao's had a lot of trouble finding those ultimates or even really finding the shoves coming in. Juhan at 0-5. They need to start finding these engages, but it's going to take a miracle at this point. Down 10k gold if they really want to try and get themselves back into this game.
Yeah, BuLLDog playing quite a good game. Just no real errors out of BuLLDog. He's been in the right places at the right times, has not fallen once, and this is exactly what you want out of your Azir. I'm really liking the way that he is playing with the long range and presence that you can have on the Azir without falling victim to the need to make plays that may not be well advised.
Yes, and unfortunately, it just kind of is the difference here. LNG go for the aggressive plays, and Croco, who's having a phenomenal game, are able to make it work, and Hery, unfortunately, might be the victim here as he's overextended.
Hold out. It's a matter of buying time. What are they doing with this time? On the other side of the map, OMG are trying to collapse on Missing. Looks like a trade of support for top laner, as once again, Hery's death is going to happen.
Yeah, a little inevitable at this point, as Hery is a little behind enemy lines. It will get donated over to Croco, but honestly, not a bad play as they chase down 1xN here.
If you can make this a 2-for-1, it's actually big. Haichao does almost die, but that's... am I crazy? Kman, I think that's worth.
Definitely worth for OMG. There are very few ways to get gold back into this game. That is definitely one of them. Croco, though, looking to make the play!
It was almost not worth. Oh my god.
Whew.
Had Haichao gone down there, that would have just completely taken away everything that OMG had just worked so hard for. As it is, everything they just got in terms of the 2-for-1, still not measuring up to much in terms of their impact on this game. Baron is up for LNG, and Dragon's going to be up in a minute 30.
But that's the thing. I mean, you found an angle. It was an aggressive, play on the bot side, and OMG said, well, we'll try to countermap. This team is not giving up quite yet, despite the disadvantage that they are at. And while this Baron looks pretty difficult and decently insurmountable, we have seen some insane comebacks across League of Legends this year so far. Certainly nothing is out of the question. LNG need to make sure they stay on their toes. This is a team that is very rarely tested, and a lot of that gold lead is on Croco in the jungle. If you can get on that Xin Zhao, things can get a bit problematic with Starry getting to that 4th item.
Keep your eyes on the Missing reset as well. Going back and being able to repopulate vision in the area, clear out anything that OMG have put down, just to sense what's going on around the Baron.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Missing wants to posture here. His disengage is so devastating, but this team actually has a little bit more trouble finding their way in, as BuLLDog actually loses a good amount of his health here. This could be a timer for OMG.
Sure would like to go for it. Keep your eyes on the Chains of Corruption as well, and keep your eyes on Croco, who wants to play Assassin. You know that he is looking straight at Starry and no one else. It's almost like a Mordekaiser ult he brings with him.
Yeah, it's a personal vendetta at this point for Croco. The posturing in the mid lane coming in here from the 2 big tanks. They are holding off all of OMG by themselves.
Starry's at half HP, so is the Dragon, and that Dragon is going to go to LNG, barring Smite Steal from Juhan. That could happen. Nope, Croco denies that immediately, and that gets followed up on by Missing. Poppycopter right out of there. Moham flashes away. OMG don't actually lose a member to their credit, but they do lose the Dragon.
And that is Soul, Mountain Soul in particular, going to the side of Scion Poppy. This game becomes a lot more difficult. Xin Zhao as well with Mountain Soul is incredibly difficult to deal with for what is a relatively low damage comp. They're threatening Baron now, but This is the darkness we talked about. With no vision control on the map, it's almost impossible to walk into this team.
BuLLDog's looking for a play. He's been pinging pretty aggressively over the last few minutes. Croco's already picked up the red buff. OMG are kicked out of their jungle, but to their credit again, are playing very conservatively. They are not giving up picks easily that would lead to a Baron being taken away from them. Even Hery's got Haichao waiting to make sure that he is safe, and LNG have no choice but to start up the Baron and force out a fight this way.
It's going to be so tough for OMG to be able to get in the pit. Juhan's a little bit slow.
And he's on vision. Doesn't actually get stalled by Sheer for too long. But OMG need to play defense for Starry, who Croco is trying to jump on right now. Front line is huge for LNG, and they are backing up a massive Corki behind them. 1XN is laying out the damage. Starry has no access to the fight. BuLLDog, Shurima shuffles Starry right back into the river. It is a double kill for 1XN and a double kill for Croco. And of course, a team fight win for LNG, even as Haichao picks up a kill.
It is a team fight win for LNG, and it is very likely at least the game being broken open, if not ended, right at this moment. It even looks okay for OMG, but the Mountain Soul really coming in clutch to keep both BuLLDog and Croco alive at the end of that fight, with both of them getting rather low. Haichao will do his best to delay the inevitable, but I don't think he can save their base.
Yeah, not a whole lot of combos landing here, and Croco is basically full health. Moham is right back here. But as Croco goes in, they can basically just ignore everyone and hit the Nexus, finding LNG the first of their victories in this series. It's a nice finish out of LNG. OMG, I'm not sure what we make of this first game.
You know, we did ask for LNG to show what they could do when they went down in gold, and I guess we kind of saw that. We saw Starry get 2 free kills in the early game, and things look okay. Unfortunately, all it really took was one massive mistake, and the game just completely dissolved. This is why Croco is being considered the most valuable player for any Group Nirvana team right now, because the way he was able to access the backline and just the chaos that he was able to cause, setting up the rest of his team, truly, truly excellent stuff from him.
Yeah, the Xin Zhao pick for Croco, an incredible thing to grab. Now it is removed, I will say, but at the same time, thinking about next game, things are looking rough because OMG had their pick of the litter this time. And that first pick, Varus, not winning them the game, really hurts in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it makes you go back to the drawing board. When you look at the things that have worked for Starry across this split, you're not looking at a lot of things that are really easily pickable. You're looking at 2v2 dominant champions, but do you really feel you can trust to dominate the 2v2 against 1XN and Missing, who have been great in that area of the game? That's the adaptation I expect OMG to make. Think of things like Misfortune or potentially an Ashe Seraphine that we saw earlier on this day already in that game number 3. I think those are likely going to be the adaptations that OMG would need to make in order to maybe capitalize on some of this more.
Yeah, I really wouldn't mind seeing an Ashe Seraphine. I think that could be extremely powerful if OMG keep going down this route of win lane, win game, which is not a bad thing to do in 2026. That is basically the solution to League of Legends right now, and I like the way that OMG approached the draft. However, I think it was just in execution, things were a little bit difficult for them, especially with the way that Croco was playing. I'm trying to visualize in my head if OMG did focus a little bit more on Croco, if they did try and play a little bit more front to back, if I think that actually could have helped them, or whether it was always out of reach with Xin Zhao.
Yeah, I think it's just so tough in that game because all of your gold is going on this Varus. And as we saw in multiple fights, even if Varus is in an okay spot, if he doesn't have flash up, it's over. Like, the game is not playable for him or for the rest of his team. You know, we highlighted how mid lane really needed to be something that OMG capitalized on, and Haichao just didn't really have the effect he was looking to have in game number 1. BuLLDog was really strong, was tempoing out Haichao up in CS, up in lane priority in the Azir versus Taliyah matchup. That's something that can't really happen if OMG want a real shot at winning. If they want to play front to back, it's going to have to be a bit more consistent, but look at these damage numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Azir pick was just, I don't want to say inspired because it was right there. It is a pretty obvious thing to pick up, but it certainly gave a lot of value to LNG this game in terms of being able to match what Taliyah and Haichao wanted to do. Starry's damage, though, still the most in the game, which on a poke champion does come with the territory, but not a bad stat to have behind you in a loss.
Yeah, I mean, as much as we can, rag on Starry for dying in some pretty crucial scenarios in the end game, he was 2-0 for a reason. He got a solo kill on 1xN in that laning phase, and those are the kinds of leads that OMG has not been able to generate consistently at all. If he can do more of that and just actually capitalize in the later part of the game with the rest of the team, they actually have something building here.
Yeah, I'm so glad we're getting this clip right now, because you know who crushed it this game is Missing. I know that
Yes.
Croco is terrifying. Missing's Poppy was so good.
Missing a player that, I think we had some reservations about going into the year. He's coming off of the worst year of his career, hasn't been able to kind of recapture some of that form that he had in 2024 or 2023 either. It's really nice to see him pick up something like the Poppy, that he really hasn't had a lot of success on champions like this throughout this year, and actively have a huge impact on the game. The ultimates were excellent. The ability to dissuade a lot of engages and aggressive play coming out from Juhan and OMG. Everything just kind of was working for a pick that I think was really strong in draft.
Yeah, that's actually one of the better things to come out of this series as well, because a question that I think many would have had is, in this series, what is it that LNG stand to gain? We know that OMG, they stand to not lose, or keep their hopes alive for being top 2, but what can LNG show us? And I think that Missing was a really good example in that game. They can show us a different way of approaching things. They can show us that they have a little bit more flexibility, how clean they can look up against OMG, again, even in a game where they arguably fell behind, even if it was by a very little in terms of the whole map. I think LNG showed a whole lot of flexibility, but most importantly, they showed us that Missing can play these tankier champions to great effect.
Yeah, Missing was great, and I think the only thing that you really want to see that goes a little bit better with this is perhaps 1xN capitalizing a bit more. He's been so important to this team, and one of the things that I think has really propelled them forward has been the great synergy that those two have had in the bottom lane, and 1xN really having a big coming out party. This wasn't his best game of all time, but Missing made that irrelevant. It didn't even really matter. The Corki was in such a great spot that when Starry, who solo kills 1xN early on in the game, TPs on top of a half-health Corki, he can just kill him straight up. That's where Missing got 1xN in this game. Croco, of course, as well. It was really everyone on the map that was doing their job, and that's what you want to see. You want to see a team win.
Yeah, and the way that LNG piloted their way to a victory from the mid-game seemed pretty cut and dry. I do wonder whether we return to an objective focus for OMG in terms of the draft. Whenever you're drafting a bot side priority like that, I'd imagine that you want to get more dragons. We saw OMG really focus that early on in the game. Whether that works or not, whether they end up returning to that same game plan is a 50-50 for me, because we saw Void Grubs actually be really impactful as well. You mentioned that Croco got those in trade for the Dragon. It worked out really well for them in terms of outputting pressure around the map. Remember, they also ended up picking up Rift Herald, so bot lane priority didn't end up meaning nearly as much for OMG, who picked up only the single Dragon, if I'm remembering correctly.
I believe you're correct. I believe they got first Drake and nothing else throughout the rest of the game. I mean, the big problem was that second Drake fight where they just got completely out-tempoed. It's definitely important for that not to happen again. Croco is going to get player of the game. This is more than deserved. He was fantastic in this one on the Xin Zhao. He made Starry's life a living nightmare, and he definitely deserves the Pog, in my opinion.
I wish I could say I was surprised, but we talked about Croco being pivotal to the series before Champion Select even began. And then he picked Xin Zhao, and I'm trying to think of which one I want to highlight. Do I want to highlight the fact that he picked up the dragons when he shouldn't have? Do I want to highlight the fact that he assassinated Starry in key moments? Do I want to highlight the fact that he went in 1v4 and was able to pick up kills? There are so many things to highlight about Croco. It's no surprise that he picked up the player of the game in our first game. However, there are one, maybe two more left to come, as OMG still fighting for their lives to hang on to the dream of top 2, are going up against an LNG who really would like to crush those dreams. We'll see if they're able to, or if OMG can hang on when we come back.